What's going on, people? Welcome back to Nick J. Francis' channel once again. Apologies for any background noise. I have a washing machine going on because I wash my clothes. What you're going to do, but the point is, Arsenal just danced Fulham off of the pitch today at Craven Cottage, 3-0, and all of the major drama happened in like 15-20 minutes of game space, and the rest. 3-0 is a very flattering scoreline to Fulham today. Do you know what I'm saying? It's not flattering for us, it's flattering to them. This should have been a 6, a 7, a 8. We should have absolutely Man United these man. Do you know what I'm saying? We are just 11 games away from the end of the season. We are still 5 points clear at the top of the table. The battle with us and City is staying on a steady pace. It's a really, really compelling season. Obviously, we haven't seen anything like it. City winning 4 of the last 5. And somebody has to give Manchester City a run for their money, and it had to be us. Key takeaways today is that Trossard got a hat-trick of assists. He's got to be man of the match. The guy's an absolute joke. He's dropping deep and collecting the ball. He's getting assists in the final third. He's switching with Martinelli and going out wide and doing different positions. He played 2, maybe even 3 positions today, and he did them all at an 8 or 9 out of 10. Some of his passing range, that mid-range of passing, not quite short, not quite long, mid-chipped passes, insane. You know, we haven't seen this since Ozil, this type of football, maybe obviously Odegaard, but we haven't seen this type of football in the final third for a really, really long time. He's just an absolute delight to watch play football, Leandro Trossard. Such a professional. 3 assists today. You know, he created all the goals. He was involved in everything, even dropping back and making tackles. Has to be the man of the match today. Unbelievable stuff from Leandro Trossard. And actually, despite making a move in January, and despite sometimes not actually being a starting 11 player, he is on the joint 3rd top assists this season. The only people that have more assists than Trossard this season are Saka and Kevin De Bruyne, who's way out in front with 12. So he is on the joint 3rd with Mo Salah, and I think there's one other player as well. But that's amazing when you consider that Salah and Saka and De Bruyne have played for one team. This guy moved in January, so that's absolutely amazing. Really, really positive news for us is that Gabi Jesus is back. It's about to be scary hours. I don't care what anybody says. I was a little bit nervous. I did think maybe we don't bring him on. It was 3-0, 20 minutes left in the game. Maybe we leave it as is. But I have previously complained at Arteta for not using his squad, so I can't be a hypocrite. And actually, in hindsight, with Eddie Nketiah injured and reports that Trossard was carrying an injury going into this game, it made sense. And as soon as Gabi Jesus touches the ball, we start seeing the touches, the flicks, the pirouettes, that type of stuff. He takes the part. He receives a pass from Partey on the half turn, and as he turns, does a backheel pass for Fabio Vieira, and they're straight in behind, and it probably should have been a 4th goal. This guy's so saucy. He's going to bring so much to training. He's going to bring so much to our team, and he's going to give us some much needed rotation up top. Some of the games that we were winning with Eddie Nketiah 1-0 or grinding games out 0-0, we will be winning these games with Trossard and with Gabi Jesus up top. You know, that we now have with Reiss Nelson as well. Like late on in the game, Reiss Nelson came off the bench and played. Fabio Vieira went wide. I'm not a huge fan of Fabio Vieira wide. I prefer him in the middle. But with Reiss Nelson, Saka, Martinelli, Trossard and Jesus, 5 players of all top quality to rotate between, I think it could be scary hours for a lot of teams. You know, if anybody has a bad day, some of these guys can come in and pick up the slack. So Trossard, man of the match. Absolutely unbelievable. Gabi Jesus back, showing his quality immediately. The goal scorers, Gabriel scored from a corner, then Gabi Martinelli scored, and then Odegaard scored. And like I say, Trossard got the assist for all of them. And, you know, it was just crazy. The narrative has changed. How narratives change in football is so interesting. After the World Cup, they were saying Arsenal only had 1 win in 5 because we drew against Brentford, which the Premier League referees apologised for because it shouldn't have been a draw. We lost to Manchester City. It was a competitive game, but we did lose that game. You know, we lost 1-0 to Everton in a really frustrating game, and they were saying, oh, you've only got 1 win from 5, and, you know, the wheels are going to fall off. Now we're saying Arsenal have won 5 games on the bounce, back to back to back to back to back, all in the Premier League. We drew against Sporting Lisbon away from home, but in the league, we've got 5 wins on the bounce. You know, Manchester City just scraped through yesterday against Crystal Palace for a late penalty. Was it a shout for a penalty? Listen, you know, it's very much up for debate, but it is what it is. They just scraped through 1-0 late in the day, and we're out here smashing teams 3-0. So you know, everything's there to play for. We're 11 games away from the season. We should be the favourites for the title the way we've played this season. If we don't feel like we're favourites for the title, then something is wrong, because we should have, even if we didn't start the season believing, we should have earned that belief. We should have put that belief into our own minds today with the style of football that we've played, some of the improvements that we've seen. You know, we saw, like I say, substitutions of Saka came off for Fabio Vieira, Martinelli came off for Reece Nelson, Jesus came on for Trossard, and we didn't drop in quality in that front three. You know, we've got essentially two front threes who are not the same level of quality, but in this particular game, and granted the game was pretty much done because, you know, obviously Fulham were down 3-0 and they probably couldn't come back, but the quality of those three playing, Trossard has done so well when he's come in, Fabio Vieira and Reece Nelson recently as well. You feel confident that if Saka's having an off day, somebody can come in, and vice versa with all these different players. Whether they come in and do things or not, I'm not guaranteeing that they're going to, but you feel confident when we go to the subs bench. Someone can come on and do something different. Tierney comes on, Tomiyasu comes on, and this is exactly what I said before. Tierney and Tomiyasu being on good form, or good enough to make sure that it's not so that they're so good they're going to go and win us games. It's so that when games are won, we can start to rest Ben White, we can start to rest Zinchenko, and they can come back really, really fresh for 90 minutes the following week. So this is what I spoke about before. It's really important that we have a good, strong bench. I'm really happy with the depth of the squad that we've got at the moment, just for seeing out the rest of the games for the season. And we have a squad now that, especially when Eddie comes back, we should have a squad that should challenge, I believe, for both the Europa League and for the Premier League. If we go out of the Europa League on Thursday, we have to win the Premier League to make it a successful season. But I would still be very disappointed if we go out on Thursday, because I think we should be winning that game. At home, you know, with our fans backing us, we should be winning that game. And on our fans, the loudest fans in the Craven Cottage today, and it's been that way for almost every away game. I think probably Man United wasn't quite, we probably didn't do it, but every away game that I've seen and every away game that I've gone to, we are the louder fan base, despite being way outnumbered in terms of numbers. The passion from this fan base is insane. It has given the players a drive. We've seen players talking about it in interviews and how much it affects them positively and how much they love having their songs and different things like that. So a pat on the back for us as a fan base for actually being able to be a key part. If we go on to win this league title, which we should do, we, the fans, have played a huge part in contributing to this. Whether that sounds ridiculous to rival fans or not, I don't care. I've been to a lot of these games, and I know for a fact it makes a big, big difference. If we stay in this type of form, I genuinely believe if we stay in this type of form, the league is over. Do you know what I'm saying? The league, it feels inevitable. Yes, we have games like this where we can go and smash teams 3-0, 4-0 against Everton, etc. We have this capability, but we also have capability to grind games out, the 4-2, the 3-2. We're seeing us battle back from adversity and go and take games by the scruff of the neck and completely tear teams apart. If some of the passages of play that we saw today were prime Arsene Wenger football with any Arsenal team in the Wenger era, and some of that stuff might not have led to a goal, so you might not see it on Match of the Day, you might not see it on Twitter, but some of the stuff, go and look, go and try and find clips of some of the football that we played today. Some of the passages and the passing moves were absolutely ridiculous. There was a lack of cutting edge just at the final moment, in some moments, but this game really should have been about 6 or 7-0, and that's not an exaggeration. That's what the commentators were saying. That's what some Fulham fans that I know were saying. You know, how have you guys not smashed us even more than this 3-0? 3-0 is a very flattering scoreline to this Fulham team, to be honest with you. And they came out fighting really hard in the second half, but they just didn't have enough to deal with what we were doing. We moved the ball around too slickly. Everybody was on song today, and they just couldn't really get near us, to be honest with you. It's unfortunate for them. I think they'll be fine, but we were just too good today. Obviously, what's interesting is City just played Palace yesterday. Next Sunday, we have Palace again. City struggled against them. Let's see how we do. Obviously, Palace, they can't play Sambi Lokonga against us because we've loaned him. We beat them 2-0 on the opening day of the season. So let's see how they do against us. I think we should be confident against them at our ground. We beat them away opening day of the season. And we are, in my opinion, a better team now than we were then. So I really can't see them beating us, although I don't want to be cocky and jinx it. I just don't see them pulling something off at our ground. I just don't see that. Meanwhile, City next week have Liverpool. And obviously Liverpool have been up and down on form. They're not having the best season, but they did put 7 past Manchester United. A Manchester United team, by the way, who beat this Manchester City team. So Liverpool are more than capable of getting a result and doing us a favour, whether that's a win or a draw. And if Manchester City can drop any points and we can beat Crystal Palace, we can start extending that lead and really put the pressure on Man City. If we can extend this lead to 8 points, you know, the reason we need to do it next week, I think, is that's going to be the best possible time for us to extend our lead to either 7 or 8 points, depending on whether they get a draw or not at Liverpool, before we go to Manchester City and play at the Etihad. I'm really concerned about playing Man City there. It's not a ground where we've won. It's a ground where we've got a lot of emotional turmoil. So I just can't bank on us getting that win. I bank on us getting a draw there, but maybe not turning them over and winning. So it's really important that Liverpool do us a favour, in my opinion. Call me unambitious if you want to. And we do an absolute number on Crystal Palace and keep this train going. And speaking of Man United and speaking of Manchester City and different things like that, it is really good. A lot of people don't want to see Arsenal win the league and all the rest of it. I get it, rivalries and different things like that. But at the end of the day, this City team has won 4 of 5 Premier League titles in the last 5 years. And if we don't give them a run for their money, who will? We are looking like a farmers league here in the Premier League. Do you know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, if you look at the table, I'm looking at the table now, United are 11 points behind City and 16 points behind us. If it wasn't for us, City would win this league running away with it with probably a 15 to 20 point gap. And it would just look like a joke of a league. Everybody believes that the Premier League is the best league in the world. And we just can't have that if we have the same team running away with it easily every single season. So all you other fans that are not Manchester City fans should really be thanking us for saving the credibility of the Premier League. You're welcome.